Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I'm Tony Gerdeman here, as always, with Tom. Tom, how's it going?
Tony, it is transfer portal season. You know how it's going because we've talked about how it's going about 17
Oof.
times in the last
Mm,
3 days. Not
mm.
not much has changed other than one more player is now visiting Ohio State.
One more player that we know of, and that is Pittsburgh defensive tackle Francis Brew. This past season, as a second-year player, was an honorable mention All ACC selection. Uh, Planning on visiting this weekend and has been in the lineup for 12 starts for the Pitt Panthers. Originally from Columbus, Ohio. I believe he went to Thomas Worthington. Tom, you can correct me if I am wrong, but please don't do that during the show. Wait until after the show to do that. It is embarrassing. But another defensive line target for the Buckeyes, who they're serious enough about to bring home, bring to campus to talk to.
Yeah, and this feels like a very logical target for them. You're looking for guys who are potentially coming to you for reasons other than just I would like to make the most money possible because you can't pay everyone the most money possible. So for people who don't know, and disappointingly, Tony was correct. He did go to Thomas Worthington High School in Worthington, Ohio. For those who don't know Columbus all that well, Worthington is about 5 exits up 315, the highway that runs right past the Ohio State campus. Thomas Worthington is about 5 exits up from that. So very, very close to home, even close to home, even by the kids from Central Ohio sort of standard.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a player who this is not a reach. This would be this is a guy who I think was probably a little bit underranked coming out of high school and has went to Pitt, played a little bit, played a true freshman defensive line, adjusted, played a relatively big role his freshman year, true freshman year, 15 tackles, then ended up starting their bowl game in year one, which is pretty significant. That's pretty early for an interior defensive line to
Mm-hmm.
be on the field for a power conference team, and then played a much bigger role. Starter, as you mentioned, honorable mention all conference. In his second season, there had 9 tackles in the game against West Virginia. I mean, that is a player who is making his presence felt on the interior of the defensive line, and definitely in a lot of ways a really intriguing potential addition for Ohio State.
Yeah, listen, at 6'1", 280 is a smaller, quicker, three-tech type, although, as we were joking before the show, that's also a right in the wheelhouse for a nose tackle type at times for Larry Johnson. He sometimes likes those smaller, quicker guys. As you said, 35 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, a sack, 2 quarterback hurries, a forced fumble this past season. As a recruit, looking back, he was a top 500 player, is the number 20 player in Ohio, had offers, of course, from Pitt, from Michigan State, Boston College, Duke, Iowa State, Minnesota, Wisconsin. Randomly, perhaps Miami was thrown in there, Miami of Florida, and of course all of the MAC and schools like that. But now taking a visit to Ohio State will certainly. Uh, this is the kind of a move where I think a guy is taking a step up, and that's what he's looking for. And whether that's at Ohio State or it's not, we will see. Ohio State, of course, has already landed a big defensive tackle in John Walker in the portal, and they're continuing to look to add defensive line help. And it's interesting because this feels like a guy that we always talk about money. Like you could maybe get some sort of a hometown discount, but you're not also trying to insult the guy with whatever kind of offer. But this is an opportunity to come home. And we saw what Justin Terry last year from West Virginia had not played on the offensive line or hadn't played. Comes back home basically, and then goes back out for a year because it didn't work. But some guys, it will work, and this may be an opportunity to do that. But an experienced player, as you said, in his 2 years, would be able to come in and help mitigate some of the loss of Taiwan Malone, pair him with Edric Houston, pair him, with some of these younger guys that still have yet to do anything, or frankly, some of the older guys who have yet to do anything. And we don't know if right now that room is static. Is this the way it's going to stay in terms of is anybody else heading for the portal? We don't know those things yet, but the fact that they're bringing him in, it's something certainly to take note of. He'll be here this weekend, and I'd be interested to know what the pitch is in terms of, we see you and Edric Houston being splitting time, but then also, what does that say about Jason Moore? Is like, well, we'll just put everybody in there. We're going to have a multiple front, and it's an interesting sell job for the visitors, and then also the incumbents and everyone in between.
Yeah, and there are still potentially a lot of question marks in that room because Caden McDonald has not announced one way or the other whether he's going to the NFL or coming back, at least as of the time we're recording this. My expectation is that he's probably, where he's projected in the draft. You would sort of expect him to leave. And if he does, then it's really Will Smith, John Walker, who they brought in, and Edric Houston in terms of guys who have played significant minutes, starter type minutes or snaps at a power conference or close to power conference kind of team. And so if you can bring in another guy, great, by all means, bring in Brew if he's available, because you need to have sure things. Yes, sometimes guys like Tywone Malone are at a certain level and then really take that step forward in year 4 or year 5. Like Tywone Malone was, I think, one of the most pleasant surprises for Ohio State last year. Mm-hmm. Will Jason Moore do that this year? Maybe. But there are also guys who don't take that step. That's not just because Tywone Malone did it doesn't mean that everyone who's in that role is going to do it in that spot. So if you can give yourself just more options, give yourself more, more guys who are sort of those proven guys who have done it on, I know everyone kind of poo-poos the ACC, but the ACC is that's a power conference. That's a power conference. And he had against Miami, a team that Ohio State fans are probably familiar with, probably don't want to think about right now, 3 tackles, including 1 for a loss in that game for Pitt. So, you saw the Miami defensive line or offensive line up front, up close. Obviously, this is, he was able to make a little bit of an impact there against them. And you go through his game log, and it's, the number of tackles is pretty consistent. 2-4, he had 9 against West Virginia, 1 against Louisville, none against Boston College, and I don't have his snap count for that. 1 against Florida State, but then 4, 0 against North Carolina State, but then 3, 3, 5, 3, and then 1 against East Carolina, and had tackles for loss in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games. Tackles for loss in 6 games as a defensive tackle those are pretty good numbers. So that's a potential, a guy who you could bring in, and it's not just a cute story of the kid coming home, and it's not that. That is someone who you're bringing in and you're expecting to be a contributor. Will he start? We'll see what that, how that all sorts out over the course of spring ball. Again, assuming he comes, which right now he's just coming for a visit. Will he come for longer than a visit? We'll see. But, if he does, this feels like a very logical potential addition to me in a spot where Ohio State could really probably use at least one more big body in the middle of that defensive line.
Yeah, and they're still also planning to talk and visit with James Smith from Alabama, as we've done a show on him and Quay Rousseau and that situation there. But yeah, they brought in 4 defensive tackles in the 2026 recruiting class. I don't expect any of them to play meaningful minutes next year. They've already lost Maxwell Roy to the portal. So you're talking Jason Moore, Jarquez Carter, Eric Mensah, Trajan Odom, Will Smith, Edric Houston, now John Walker. And there's not a lot there in terms of proven production. And really, I think Jarquez Carter played some last year, and there's some pleasant moments there. So you figure like he'll be able to take another step. But yeah, it's not a lot of tackles or snaps there from that group. But we'll see where this one goes. And frankly, I'd be interested to know if at this point is anybody visiting a take, or is it going to be? Is there are they only looking for one defensive tackle? And if so, is it the first one, or is it? Well, we're still holding out on him. And can you do that in a portal? Can you be like, well, come visit now? We'll give you an answer in a few days. Again, this is all as you said before. It's speed dating, so like how how standoffish can you be when you're speed dating if you're actually trying to connect? But we will see. So that will do it. Go ahead. You got anything else, Tom?
Nope, we are good.
Okay. All right. We are good, and that will do it from here. If you want to hit the thumbs up, we'd appreciate that. Of course, 5-star rating and reviews are always appreciated. And you can continue to find us at BuckeyeHuddle.com talking about all of this and more. And we'll be talking about more and more and more here at YouTube.com/BuckeyeHuddle as well. So you should subscribe, all that stuff. You know it. That will do it from here. Thank you for talking.
You're welcome.
I am going to edit this. That will do it from here. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will talk to you guys later.